Okay, my friends, you asked for it and here it is, the video that is going to show you exactly how to ferment tomatoes. Now, if you've never fermented tomatoes before, it's actually much easier than it seems. So do not be intimidated by it. You're going to watch this whole video and then you're going to understand exactly how to do the process. So, fermenting the tomatoes have three distinct advantages. One is that the flavor profile is out of this world. I mean, what the fermentation process does to the flavor of the tomatoes is indescribable. It is so tangy and so full of life and so full of, it's just intense, and that's why I like it. Now, the second thing that it does is that it allows us to store tomatoes pretty much all winter long. Think of that. It's difficult to store tomatoes, especially in their whole state like this. But through the fermentation process, we can keep them in a cool place, preferably like a cellar or a basement. Or if you don't have that, you can put them in the refrigerator. Absolutely, that will keep them for sure. But they don't have to have refrigeration, and this will last all winter long. Now, the third thing, the third big plus that it does through the fermentation is what it does through the microorganisms. Yes, you've heard so much about probiotics and their essential nature for our gut health. Well, this is bursting with probiotics, okay? I won't get into it all right here. It's just, this is a living food full of life force. Now, I'm going to be showing you here in just a moment. We're going to go in the kitchen. I'm going to be showing you two different methods, which really they're the same, but one is utilizing a starter and one is not utilizing a starter. It's just the simple brine. Now, a starter is it's like insurance. It's just making sure that that ferment happens. And definitely if you're in a hot location, if you're in the tropics or anywhere right now where it's going to be above 80, 85 degrees Fahrenheit in the place that you're fermenting, you'll want to use a starter, okay? Because that ensures that the lactic acid is what takes hold as opposed to any of the other types of bacteria. So for the starter, my favorite choice is the brine from the pickles that you've obviously watched the video I made about fermenting, lacto-fermenting cucumbers. And so we're going to be utilizing the leftover brine. See, I've already eaten many jars full of them. But save the brine, okay? This is a wonderful starter for fermenting all kinds of stuff because this is filled with the lactic acid bacteria. I mean, they've colonized this entire thing. Nothing else is growing in here. So this is very good to use as a starter. And the flavor, oh man, it just makes it even more just crazy. Also, you can utilize the labs, the lactic acid bacteria serum, which I've also made a video about, which I'll put a link to at the end of the video to both of these videos so that you can watch them. The lactic acid bacteria will definitely work, although it makes the flavor slightly different. Still totally good and pleasant, but you be the judge, just experiment around. So once you learn the process, it opens up a whole new realm of possibilities, okay? So let's go in the kitchen and get to it. Okay, first step, we have to make the brine. So to make the brine, we're going to use sea salt. It doesn't matter if it's pink Himalayan or Celtic sea salt, whatever it is, just make sure it's actual salt, not iodized table salt. And to make the brine, we make 1 tablespoon of salt per cup of water. So we're just going to make 2 cups of brine here. So we have 2 cups of water and 2 tablespoons of sea salt. Mix it all up until it's dissolved. Then we want to take some good pungent garlic. Garlic is really imperative to this whole thing as far as the flavor profile goes. So get you the garlic and make sure it's some good pungent stuff. And then you want to get a couple of sprigs of basil. That's what I use. Although you could do it without either of these, but the flavor is going to be out of this world with them. So the next thing that we want to do is to add a couple chunks of the garlic. And then we want to add a couple pieces of the basil. And then on top of that, we're going to pack the tomatoes. Now, cherry tomatoes work best for this. You can also use full-size tomatoes, but you can only fit 2 or 3 of them in the jar because you want to leave them whole. Now, once it's all packed in there, you will use your starter. If you're using a starter, whichever one it is, use about 1/4 cup of the starter and pour that in first. And then after you pour the starter in, then fill it the rest of the way with the brine, being sure to submerge the tomatoes. Now, if you don't have a starter, that's fine too. Just use only brine and fill it all the way with brine. Now, you'll see here I'm using a fermentation weight, and I'll have a link in the description to the ones I'm using. But I like to do that to make sure it stays submerged below the brine, but it's not necessary, and I'll show you in a moment what to do if you don't have a fermentation weight. But always label your ferments. You're not going to remember. So label the ferments and then place it where the rest of them go. And then we're just going to leave it in this area, which stays about 68 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to let that ferment for 2 weeks before moving it to the cool storage, the basement, or the refrigerator, or wherever it is you're going to store it. Let it ferment for at least 2 weeks. And check the top every now and then. Unscrew and check them about once a day, every other day. And if you see them floating above the surface like this, because we didn't use a fermentation weight, which is fine, but we have to once a day come in and flip them upside down and make sure that everything is coated in the brine, and that'll keep everything nice and fermenting properly. If you see any kind of molds, you want to peel it off, and maybe you did something wrong. But guys, let me know if you want to see a video for this fermented smoked poblano hot sauce, which is divine. And here we have a batch that has been fermenting at room temperature for about a month now, and we're gonna eat it. So you open it and you see no discoloration. There's no funky mold or anything like that. Everything is nice and full color. You want to make sure that everything smells good and that everything has good color. It's not gray or brown or black or any of those nasty colors. It still retains its color and it still retains a very appetizing scent. And yes, here's how I like to eat it, my friends, with the lactic acid bacteria serum byproduct probiotic cheese, this divine superfood, which you can learn to make as well. I simply cut a small portion of one of the tomatoes, put it on the cheese, and consume it. And I tell you what, my friends, it is absolutely incredible. It is exploding with flavor. And it's so intense, it's in your face, and it's floral, and it's fruity, and it's divine, my friends. So there you go, my friends. That's the process. And then you'll let those ferment for about 2 weeks until they're actually finished. You won't see many more bubbles and stuff. The first week or two, you'll see lots of bubbles. But then after that, they should be pretty well finished. Then you can put them either in the refrigerator or a cool area, like a basement or a cellar or someplace that is out of direct sunlight. And they will keep like that for many months, okay? So you'll just smell them. And so long as they don't smell foul, you know, like putrid, then they're good. They're good to go. So they're going to get real tangy and carbonated and all that. It's all good, okay? So doing it like this, you're not going to have a batch go bad, okay? All right, my friends, so if you gained something from the video, give it a thumbs up. Check out the Garden Like a Viking Instagram profile. I just started that, okay? And big shout out to all my true believers and my guys that are using the link in the description to make a donation to the PayPal account, or also the super thanks. That is much appreciated, helps me keep making these videos. And I will see you guys next time.